Hello, and welcome to my channel where we may be dazed, but we are not confused. We are going to do a Stargazer reading for the sign of Cancer. So our purpose is to take a look at what you can do to come more closely in alignment with the star that wants to shine brightly within you. So we're going to use the Mystical Shaman Oracle, and let's get started. So the wounding that you are needing to try to heal or integrate and eventually let go of is behind feeling as if you were not able to go out and hunt and find the things that you needed materially. I feel as if what you did have, though, was an abundance of things that you could gather within environments of scarcity. Now, I felt like you had everything that you needed. Like you were able to see the silver lining in situations. You were able to make something out of nothing. You're able to find and see abundance and provision where others just see barren, empty fields and soil. Okay. Now, with this being in the wounding position, I feel as if what this is saying is that there may have been a sense of not really embarrassment, but this sense that you wanted to be more than that. You wanted to do more than that. On this card, it has pumpkins, and there's this woman. And what this picks up for, or brings up for me, is the story of Cinderella. And I'm reminded of how Cinderella did not have the resources or the things that she needed to go where she wanted to go. Could she have just walked out of her house and walked up to the castle and gone in? Like, yes, of course she could have. Would they have allowed her to come in? Would she have fit in with the environment? No. What she did have was she had pumpkins, and the pumpkin was what was used as the vehicle in which to take her where she needed to go. So did she just get into the pumpkin and go? Like, no. Someone had to come in and put a lot of energy and effort to manifest a pumpkin on her behalf so that she could participate in this environment and in this space that was not necessarily above her, but that she was precluded from participating in because of her means and because of how she was showing up. Now, the backstory on that was that she actually was the one out of everyone who lived in her household and everyone who was living off of her legacy, her family history, the wealth that her father left behind for her that was being diverted to a stepmother and stepsisters who embedded themselves in and then pushed her down to a lower position, to that of a servant, and kind of stole her birthright. All right, and reveled in that while they tap danced all over her family history and her lineage. She was pushed to being in a position where she had the things that she needed, but she may not have been comfortable, and her social status was impacted as a result of that. She was not recognized by people in the way in which she should have been. And if she had been recognized as being the actual lady of the house, the actual owner of all that wealth, and she went to that ball, we see what happened. She was immediately picked out of everybody to be the new queen of the whole kingdom, not just of her household. It was just a matter of what appearances were and how she came across in the pre-existing social order and hierarchy that was being set up. And as we know, social hierarchies rise and they fall. These different things, they come and they go. But with this being in the wounding, what I'm picking up is that there could be a story that's similar to this, that, you have everything you need, you're able to make something out of nothing, but at some level, that you can do more. That there's more for you. That, if I could only, turn this pumpkin into a carriage, I just need a fairy godmother to come in and put a lot of energy and effort and magic and make it just happen. And then it'll hold up just long enough for me to get through the door, and then it'll go back to normal. And then, we'll see what happens. I just want to get through the door. And have the markers and signposts that virtue signal that I'm supposed to be here. And with this being in the wounding, I feel like this may be what you feel is blocking you from being in your truest, highest path. Because I feel like there's this sense that that you're meant for more. That you're meant to not just be blessed and abundant, but to be recognized among people who are stereotypically seen and recognized and honored for being blessed and abundant. But the story that you're needing to let go of so that you can write a new one is ironically the story that you need to be manifesting and creating and going and making and taking and to be that hunter to create and make things happen in order to write a new story or to allow the story that wants to play out for you in your highest good to come forth. So I feel like this is challenging that energy that you might have of feeling like lowly and feeling like what you're doing is not good enough. Or, it's almost like in grade school where people reminisce about how they may have had donated clothing. Like they always had shoes on, they always had clothes, they always had, food to eat and things like that, but it wasn't name brand. And so the other kids that had the stuff that was name brand and whatever, they might make them feel bad about themselves, or they just didn't feel adequate, even though they had everything they needed to show up every day and be in the same space as those people. They just didn't have the accoutrements of what was perceived as being the sign of those who go out and go get materials, and they can go get stuff and be in the realm of abundance and just always have stuff, in a way that's recognized by the society. Okay. And this is saying that you should try to let go of that story that what you have is not enough, or that is too lowly, or it's not showing that you are able to, make things happen in this realm. You're not, just taking things, lightly and just having a airy, sense of privilege, and you can just play and do all these things. I feel like you have to work really hard for the things that you do have, but you're successful at doing that. Like you might even have a life where, maybe it's not even that you have to work so hard. I feel like things will come to you still, but you don't have the means in which to kind of put it on display and have people look at you like, oh, look at this person. They're living a good life. They're doing this. They're doing that. All right. I don't want to say it's falling in with like materialism or shallow ideals about what it means to be successful. But I feel like there could be a sense of that getting in the way of you fully embracing the light that wants to shine within you. And this is saying that it's time to let that go so that a new story can come forth. So what is the wisdom that you can acquire that could allow you to get more closely in alignment with the thing that's going to bring you the ultimate passion and joy? Well, it turns out, that not taking action, allowing yourself to be still, to observe the energy and the environments around you will actually allow you to create and to receive. I feel like this is about receiving. And I think that's the energy. This to me is about being more in your receptive energy and things kind of coming to you, as opposed to going out and taking and being more in your masculine to make stuff happen for yourself. And this is saying that you might be in your exalted energy within the feminine state here. And if somebody perceives you as not having enough or not being abundant, is because they don't understand the energy or understand the value of that energy, and that you shouldn't allow that to hinder you from being in your fullness and showing up in your full, or looking at yourself as being less than. Okay. And then, consequentially blocking yourself from receiving the good and the abundant things in the midst, and this is the key, in the midst of scarcity. So here's the other thing. While you are able to find and gather, because this is about hunter gathering, okay? And this could also be a story or energy that goes way back in your family line, like all the way back. This is about being able to find in the midst of scarcity, financial crisis, collapse, and breakdown, all the things that you need, while all the people who depend upon a certain level of things having to be abundant or things have to be available for them to get. So like if you're a hunter, you can only hunt the game that's actually there. If there's no game, you have nothing to hunt. Whereas these gatherers, you can gather from whatever's there. You know how to forage, you know how to find and see the value in what's in your environment already. hunters have to move around and they have to follow the herds, okay? So you are being asked to not be tempted to leave your station and try to follow the herd, because you're going to be kind of taken to and fro. And when collapse happens, or when there's not enough resources there, your strength and power and value goes up, because you know how to find stuff where other people don't see it. Okay. So with this witness card here, it's saying that you're being asked to recognize that things happen when you get out the way. You see that, you can see that you're able to recognize the value of being able to work with what you have and make the most of what you have. Don't try to force things in situations that are not suitable, or force things in situations that are not in favor of whatever energy you're trying to work with at the time. All right, because it puts you out of balance with nature. It puts you out of balance with the universe when you do that. Okay. And unfortunately, on a macro scale, we see what happens when we have too much of this hunter energy, too much of this go get it energy, when you don't have the resources or the times are not favorable for that. You start to get a lot of manipulating and a lot of energy put into trying to get something to look that way so that someone can come in and get something really quickly, take as much as they can before it goes away, and the whole system falls apart. And then you're left picking up the pieces. So I'm also reminded of that scene in Cinderella again, where the fairy godmother had to put a lot of effort and energy into making that pumpkin look like a carriage so that she could go to that ball. But when the clock struck 12, she had to be out of there because there was nothing there. She had to go in, get it. You know, you could say that, go get the bag, go get what you need to do, go get that man while you can, while this is holding up, and then run, because everything was going to fall apart, and come back down again. And she had to run and get back to her house. She didn't even make it to the house. The pumpkin turned back into, or the carriage turned back into a pumpkin, and she was left in the road, sitting in mud. Her clothes went back to tatters, and the people that were chasing after her didn't even recognize what it was, and they ran over the pumpkin. It was broken into pieces, and there she was left with just pieces of something. And I feel like that's kind of symbolic of what might be happening on this cyclical basis, where all the people who are the hunters and going out and making stuff happen and getting this and getting that in spaces when there's abundance and there's that game available, then it's no harm, no foul. But when you push it beyond that point and it's just not there, and you're trying to make that happen and not be mindful of the times and the cycles and what season that you're in, then it's artificially held up. And when that happens, it can only hold up for so long. And you know, as we all have experienced probably a few times in our lives, we see a collapse of structures and systems when it implodes, because people are trying to push and pile on and get as much as they can, because they know it's about to collapse, because it's not sustainable. Okay. And those who know and are aware of these seasons know when it's time to fall back and how to work with the materials that are actually there, so they have something for the winter and have something stored up for themselves so they can get through the hard times. Okay. So the destiny that you have here is, you know, if you were to heed this, is that you will be able to not manipulate, but maneuver yourself through times of chaos and times of loss and times of harshness and scarcity. Although this is the thing that you might feel, you know, a sense of maybe embarrassment or something about, or not having enough in times of, you know, when the sun is shining and everything seems to be going and people are in that energy. This is actually the blessing for you, is that you're able to get through those times. And then when that time is over, this time of possible, you know, chaotic clearing or collapse passes, because this too shall pass and that season doesn't last forever, then you're able to also kind of go back into an energy of also having a bit more abundance as well. All right, because you have the balance of the two and understanding how that works in cycles. Okay. So this is what allows you to also get clarity and to get a vision, a clear vision of what your purpose is and what steps you need to take to become more in alignment with the energy or the star over you. And your destiny, basically, is another way of saying like your destiny and your life path, what you're wanting to ultimately fulfill here in this life. Okay. And you might have been having some blockages in seeing that because of the materialism and, you know, the culture of materialism and chasing after that and making things happen and grabbing the bull by the horns and taking what you want and doing all of that stuff. It might have blocked you from seeing the value in what you already have and in the skill set that you have and your ability to create something from nothing. This is also about the value of recognizing that sometimes through chaos you can create things, because things are broken down to their barest parts, and from there you are able to create exactly what it is, using the materials, using what's appropriate for the time to have something that's more sustainable long term. And so this is you recognizing also the value of that and how your mission, your purpose, and the path that you're on. So once you're able to fully accept and realize that, it allows you to more closely align on your path with a clear vision and purpose of being able to observe the signs of the times, observe what's available to you, and align yourself appropriately with the energies that are already at play, as opposed to trying to manipulate and force things to happen and going against cycles and seasons as they are occurring in your life. All right, Cancer, that is what I have for your reading. I hope that it was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me on this channel where we may be dazed, but we are not confused. And until the next video, bye-bye.